Hey, everybody, Mega 31 back here for FSI DFS. I will be breaking down the massive 15-game slate for Friday, 9/17. I realize you guys probably have a lot going on this weekend, so I'm just going to cut right to the chase. I'm not going to go game by game. Right up here in front of you is just kind of a preview of the sheet that we give our subs. So I've got my pitchers ranked here, my stacks ranked here. Let me just run through them quick. I think Wheeler is going to be the top pitcher that I'm going to look at for the slate tonight. Really good situation up against the Dodgers. Not the Dodgers, the Mets. Too many teams that are wearing red nowadays. So definitely up against the New York Mets there. Really like him. They've been, after the Renaissance, they've really cooled off a little bit here. So he's been in great form. They're fighting for the playoffs. And I think, he's going to be allowed to go out there, go as long as he really needs to go. And I think he'll do really well. Second, I like McCullers against the Diamondbacks. Yes, Diamondbacks every so often can put together a good game or so, but he's been solid. 9.3 price tag, like that. I think Walker Buehler will be popular too. He's been having a good season, but a couple factors against him. He's playing a Reds team that is decent. They hit well. They don't strike out a lot. They're pretty patient, and it's in Great American Small Park. So out of the top pitchers, I think he'd be third in line, and then Webb would be fourth in line. Maybe even like him a little bit over Walker. You save a little bit there at 9.8 price tag. Picks up the Atlanta Braves. He's been strong against right-handed hitting, so you really just have to worry about like Freeman and Elby's there. But I think he definitely, the temperatures have been cooler in San Francisco. It hasn't been great hitting. I know the wind's blowing out like 18 to 20 miles per hour, but that really doesn't seem like it's been like a huge factor this year so far. So I think he's in play here, but those are the four favorite ones. But then I really like this middle range. Like Cisse has been definitely good. I think he'll be able to go out there and have a good game against Texas, who is just has a poor lineup. Strikeouts, I think definitely they have a 3.52 total, so he should get the win here. He's a good place there. Marquez gets, we thought he was pitching yesterday. The game was rained out. Now he gets the Nationals. Again, just Soto in that lineup is the only one really need to worry about, but no protection around him. So Marquez could go out there and have a good game. A little bit of rain in forecast. Only look like talking like 30%. So just have to keep an eye on that. But I think we'll be fine there. But I think, he'll definitely can go out and dominate that Washington lineup. Next up, we have Ryu from the Blue Jays. Like Minnesota has some hitters in the lineup, definitely. And he is a lefty, and you have the right-handed power of like Donaldson and Sano and Buxton, but they don't always put it together. And Ryu's had a decent season. So there's a little bit of risk there. But I think, he makes sense for a medium range pitcher if you're to be in your flavor pool at least. The last one, a little bit risky here, would be Ian Anderson. He's had a couple struggles this season, but overall he's been okay. He'd be my least favorite one in the mid-range, and I'd probably definitely pick 10 other pitchers over him. But, if you end up in that price range, or if you're playing like the late night slate, and he's okay, but San Francisco definitely could throw a lot of lefties at him and give him some trouble. The only thing that's really good, even though the wind's blowing out there, the temperatures are cool, and it really hasn't been a great hitting environment out there. Really like this cheap range. Going back to the Colorado-Washington game, not the Colorado-Washington game, is actually the Miami and Pittsburgh game. I'm just thinking about like all the horrible teams, and they're all grouped together, like the Pittsburgh, Miami, Washington, just seems like have kind of fallen off since the All-Star break. So Pittsburgh and Miami, I think either pitcher here, I favor Hernandez here, but I think you can make a case for either one of them if you're looking for a cheap pitcher. I think they can get you like 15 DK points, which at that price tag at 6.2 or 6.8 is definitely enough to help you get some of the bigger bats in tonight. And with everybody in play, Toronto stack is expensive. A Dodger stack is expensive. Gardner helps the Yankee stack not be as expensive, but Houston sometimes can be expensive. Tampa Bay can be expensive. So if you want to pay up for some of these bats, then definitely you're going to need to take a pitcher in this range. Hauser would be the next one in there. I think I prefer to take somebody in that triple A matchup there of Pittsburgh and the Marlins, with I think there's K upside there and not that many runs, but Hauser has been decent recently for Milwaukee. Gets a Cubs team who, yeah, they put up some runs yesterday against Philly and they've had some outbursts, but overall they have a pretty high K rate. So I think in his current form against them, he makes sense. And then I think Singer also, even though they get the Mariners who do have some lefty power, I think at 5'3", if you're looking for a punt, he would be the lowest that I'd go on the slate. Ones I'm going to stay away from is Kluber, the Yankees, 9K, even though he's getting more stretched out, it's just a little too high to pay for him. Sale is coming back from the COVID IL. So, he has been decent since he has come back from having his surgery, but will he be on a pitch count? Will they kind of watch him there? So that really kind of scares me off using him. I think at 9.5, he's fine in GPP, but I'm not going to go there on a 15 game slate. I don't think you have to. Castillo, just because he's up against the Dodgers, and Patino just seems overpriced for Tampa Bay. And there's so many other pitchers on the slate. I'm just not going to go through them all. So I think, those are the top 16 options there. And I'm probably going Wheeler and Cisse in most of my lineups if I'm paying up. And if I'm paying down, I'm going to try Hernandez, Crow, or Hauser to pair with Wheeler. Top stacks, Boston gets a lefty in Baltimore and a good, actually, no, they're home. So don't really care. Still get a lefty in Keegan Aiken. Not a good pitcher. They were my favorite stack on the night. Toronto gets Pineda, who's been giving up hard contact. They're expensive, but they'd be my second favorite stack. Milwaukee, I think, is in a really good situation also against Zach Davies. He's been giving up hard contact, and they're reasonably priced. They're actually not a bad stack. Their most expensive person, I think, is Escobar now at 4.6, which isn't that bad at all. So very easy to get in with two top pitchers and then fill out your lineup with some other one-offs that might be good, or a mini stack from another team. White Sox are interested in, just because they're up against a left-handed pitcher. Always like them, especially a Rangers left-handed pitcher. So they're starting to get back and get healthy. So a little bit pricey with some of their bats, but only at 5.3. Grandal's not that bad. Maybe if Anderson's back in the lineup, he could be one to go with too, but a little bit more pricey also. Then coming to some GPP stacks, Tampa Bay definitely makes sense against Mees and the Tigers. You probably won't go that deep. Tiger bullpen is horrible. Houston, Yankees, Dodgers, and there's so many other teams. A 15-game slate, some of these, you could probably make a case for many of these teams, but I think with Houston, LA, and New York, just your blue bloods, you can stack them any night, and the ownership is going to be so spread out. It's really nice. St. Louis, I think, makes a cheap one. They're in a good hitting situation. It's almost a playoff game against the Padres. They're all fighting for that final wild card spot. Vince Velasquez, since he left the Phillies, hasn't been good. I think, definitely, even though they don't have many left-handed hitters, I think the righties will still hit them pretty well. San Diego lefties love against Mikolas, and they're very, very cheap. So, and I think they even work if you want to get Tatis and Machado in there, but Profar leading off should be a lock at 2-1 with his splits matchup, and just very, very good situation there. Fraser's been cheap. Caratini is a catcher switch hitter. Grissom, lots of good there. And then San Francisco, I think, again, not the great hitting weather. Even Anderson has been a little bit volatile, but San Francisco continues to have some cheap bats too you can throw in there. And for leverage, I think Cincinnati and Milwaukee or Minnesota are going to be low owned. The Mets will be against Wheeler, who's probably the top pitcher on the slate, and then the Cubs also. So again, 15-game slate, so many different places to go. So just going to give you one build here. I'm not going to pull up DK, but I'll just slide my screen over and show you what I've kind of built here. So if I want to, Wheeler's definitely a lock here. SP2 is going to be where the question comes in. So I'm going to start with Cisse. Going to pick a catcher. I'm going to move Maldonado. He has the splits advantage here at 2.7. I think you need to lock in a catcher around 2.7, and then you have flexibility to go down to like Perez from Cleveland if 2Ks then saves you like $700. But there's a lot. I think 2.7 is where you need to lock in, and then you can go down from there if you need a little bit more money for bats. But stacking Boston here, Dahlbeck, Kiki, Devers, lefty, still fine with that. He's hits them really well. And how long is the start going to last when we get to the bullpen? There's probably some righties there. X-Bog there. I'm taking Renfroe over JD. JD, I just think it's just, I'm okay if you play him, but he's very pedestrian in his numbers. He's consistent in getting like single digit numbers every so often. He'll have like a high number. I know Renfroe is not, but I'll take the savings there. And I think, I've seen more out of Renfroe than I've had JD this season. I'm also fine if you switch it up and if you want to throw in any of the other Red Sox bats, but Dahlbeck I really like for his price and how consistent he has been. So if you go with this lineup here, it gives you 3,100 left for the last two outfielders. If you drop down to like E. Hernandez or Hauser, that gives you about 42. So, you can get two decent outfielders here, or like one really cheap one and one stud. So I think that's the way I'm going with the build tonight. Definitely lock in Wheeler. Cisse would be my second favorite pitcher, but if you want to take somebody else in the mid-range or take one of the cheaper guys, I think they'll definitely open up there. But there's so many ways to go. Like Milwaukee, you're gonna put those guys in and you're going to have a decent amount left over to get some other bats in there to pay up for a couple. So there's many places you can stack to them, or if you take one of the blue blood guys, put them in there. I don't think that they're going to be highly owned. So lots of ways to go. So I'm glad you watched this. If you have any questions, comments below, we try to get back to you on all of them. Reach out to me, Twitter at MegaRow31. Like our video, subscribe to our channel so you know when they're coming out. And hopefully good luck tonight. And like I said, lots of choices, but hopefully this helped you narrow them down. So appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.